to you in this campaign, how are you going about motivating young people to go out to vote?
Yeah, so the primary targets of Vote 2000 is to educate disenfranchised communities, Black and Brown communities, on the civic and electoral processes of this country and get them registered to vote. And I came up with this idea in 2017 when I held a campus-wide voter registration drive at my alma mater, Nelson Mandela School for Social Justice, which is inside of the Boys and Girls High School campus, which I don't know if you guys know, but in New York City, the inner city schools have multiple schools in one building.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So there's 4 schools in that campus. And I had to work really hard to get every single school on board. And long story short, eventually on that Friday, we had an influx of graduating seniors come down to the library to get registered to vote. And they had attitudes. They were like, why do we have to do this? We already voted for the president.
Wow.
And then when I heard somebody say that, a light bulb went off in my head. And I'm like, yo, like, people really don't realize how important local politics are.
Yep.
Like, of course, like, you know, the president, he's like a figurine, but local politics is what really affects us every single day. So, for example, we vote for the district attorney. And if you get involved in the criminal justice system, that person can literally determine whether or not you walk free. So I literally said to them, I'm like, listen, our ancestors and people that are still alive today have shed blood in order for us to have this right. And it's not just a privilege, it's a right that people have shed blood and gave their lives up behind. So for you not to exercise that right is a disservice to yourself and for the millions of people that have shed blood for this cause. Yeah. And when I said that, they were like, you know what, miss, you're right. And I'm like, miss, I'm younger than y'all. And they was like, what? And then, yeah. So I ended up like motivating them. They was like, you know what, I'm going to get registered to vote. And I got over 100 plus graduating seniors registered to vote that day. And it's also important to note that I was getting people registered to vote in the projects in my community as well. So I'm doing it on the ground in my community, in the projects that nobody wants to go to, and also in my school. And after everything was over, I'm like, okay, how do I keep this momentum up? And that's how I came up with the idea of Vote 2000, because it's geared towards Gen Z. I'm a 2000 baby, and I felt like it's short, hashtagable, quick to remember and all that. And then in 2018, we partnered up with DoSomething.org, and they just literally, they're my family. I love them so much because they gave me all the resources and tools that I needed. And in partnership with them and their voter reg and efforts, we got over 100,000 young people registered to vote. And now we're gearing up again this summer to roll everything out at the end of the summer and really like take off with this campaign.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's also super important, and I'm glad people are spearheading campaigns around this topic, because otherwise it's just we should be blamed for the fact that we're not going out and voting and taking things as if politics doesn't affect us. But also, part of it is systemic in the sense that we literally do not know. Like, my biggest fear is, especially in this day and age with our president and certain Republicans, that they have a propensity towards literally taking our voting rights away.
It's a lot of times on like college campuses, for instance. I've heard a great case to be made that the reason why young people don't vote is because voting is so far away from college campuses.
Yes.
And I wouldn't even understand why people. Well, I do, but like from a human standpoint, I don't understand why people would not want us to exercise those types of rights, especially when, you know, they'll say, oh, the founding fathers, they did such a great job at building our country. And then, and one of those, you know, obviously there are problems with those figures, but one of the things that they wanted us to do was to have access to vote, albeit it originally did not start like that. And the history of that is not really that complicated, in the sense that they were racist and slave owners and only wanted racist slave owners to be able to vote as well.